We want people to know some of the facts about in vitro fertilization. And some of the facts are the following. One, it is incredibly inefficient. It has a very high failure rate. And as a result of that, women are going to be at risk. They're going to have to go through sometimes multiple cycles. Not only that, it results in the destruction of many, many human lives. So people need to hear that and they need to understand that. We know that when somebody goes through in vitro fertilization, it is estimated that of all the cycles that have happened, over 90% of the human lives that have been generated by in vitro fertilization have been destroyed, discarded, or are abandoned to the freezer. That number comes to, on conservative estimates, comes to well over 100 million embryos. And there's about 1.5 million embryos that are abandoned to the freezer. Another thing that people need to know is that it's an incredibly eugenic and discriminatory practice. Because what they are doing is they are playing God. They are saying, you know what, we know we are going to provide you with this ability to do artificial reproduction. We're not even going to treat the underlying condition, or it's kind of a workaround, right? But in the process, we're going to kind of help you decide which babies, what we consider in our human eyes, are the best babies. And they're going to actually discard those that they think are unworthy of living. So there are many, many problems with this technique, and we want people to understand that so that they are equipped to make the best decision that is right, a God-honoring decision.
So you basically present the facts, and then you're equipping them to make the decision for themselves.
Right, but in one that's going to be God-honoring because it's going to actually protect human life.
Yep.
Right, so...
Yep. And James?
Dobbs made a correction in the law, right? It got into the law that these earliest forms of conception are living human beings, right? Very, very important. We've got to help the public catch up with that. It's hard for people to want to help someone that they don't understand is like them. Their humanity is the same. And so a lot of the education that you'll find at our site helps people to understand why, when I say that the earliest single-cell zygote is a living human being, that is in fact true. And you would think, if you can get to there, getting to understanding why we shouldn't be aborting fetuses should be even easier.
Yep.
But that's the work we have to do.
Right.
And so knowing
big
that,
time needed.
Again, coming back to that thing, the justification, the utilitarian justification for aborting fetuses and using them for research, people need to understand that there are alternatives to that there are other things that we can do besides that.
All right, last question here as the clock on the wall is ticking down. You talk about, we talk about the basics here of in vitro fertilization. You touched on it just a bit. Tara, I do think about the whole eugenic aspects and really deciding which children or embryos live and which die. You have this whole notion of designer babies. You also have something called synthetic parentless embryos. So, Tara, as we close, take us through these different, again, this is science that is being applied in a rather unethical manner, it sounds like.
It is. So what's happening right now in labs throughout this country, internationally, is that they are taking living human embryos, and they come from the foundation of in vitro fertilization that are donated to research. And what they are doing is that they are then manipulating them, and they are trying to genetically edit them. So not only are they saying, okay, we see that these are the genes that this embryo has, we actually think that we can do a better job than God, and we can actually either add or delete genes that we do or do not want. Okay, so that's happening in laboratories. We also know that there's what's called these synthetic embryos, that now scientists have figured out a way to actually make an embryo, a parentless embryo, without any sperm and egg. And what they are doing is they are growing these embryos in the laboratory. They call them synthetic embryos, but they're using them as models to help understand human development.